All right. Hare Krishna, everybody.
Hare
We'll start with the Prabhupada prayer. Okay, you can repeat after me. Namo Vishnu Padaya. Namo Vishnu Padaya. Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale. Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale. Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami. Iti Namine. Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami. Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi. Namaste Saraswati Devi. Gauravani Pracharine. Gauravani Pracharine. Nirvishesha Shunyavadi. Paschatya Deshatarine. Namo Vishnu Padaya. Krishna Prestaya Bhutale. Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami. Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi. Gauravani Pracharine. Nirvishesha Shunyavadi. Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. So welcome to the fourth session of Bhagavad Gita as it is by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. I'll quickly go through the last time's slides. Last time we are at the introduction of Bhagavad Gita as it is. The edition of ISKCON, it's called Bhagavad Gita as it is, and we are at the introduction. The introduction has about 30 pages, and it's packed with lot of information which is covered in Bhagavad Gita. But Prabhupada has put it in the introduction, so we are just going through it, just a bird's eye view. We are not going into detail, just going through it. And those topics will be again covered as we proceed in Bhagavad Gita from chapter to chapter. So, in the introduction, we looked at this verse in the 10th chapter. Uh, so briefly, before the beginning of the Mahabharata war, Arjun was perplexed. He didn't want to fight. And then Lord Krishna gave a series of talks. And after hearing that, by the time we come to 10th chapter, Arjuna understands the position of Lord Krishna and he tells this verse. That verse goes like this: Parabrahma param dhama pavitram. This one. Parabrahma param dhama pavitram paramam bhavan purusham shashvatam divyam adidevam ajam vibhum. So Arjuna is describing Lord Krishna using different names of Krishna, and last time we saw what those names mean. So Lord Krishna is the Parabrahma, means he is the supreme Brahman. Paramdhama means he is a supreme abode. And Pavitram, Lord Krishna is addressed as Pavitram. Pavitram means Lord Krishna is not contaminated by the material modes which we are contaminated. And then he is the Purusham. Purusham means Lord Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. And Shashvatam, he is eternal. Divyam, transcendental. Adidevam, the original supreme personality of Godhead. Ajam, unborn. Vibhum, the greatest. And then Arjuna says that Sarvam etad ritam manye. O Krishna, I totally accept the truth of all what you said. And then he says all the great rishis also support what I'm saying. I'm not just saying as flattery, but all the great sages also say this. And then we looked at some statements in the introduction by Prabhupada, where Prabhupada said our existence is in the atmosphere of non-existence. And then we looked at the statement by Prabhupada where he said the perfection of human life is when you actually inquire about yourself. Atato Brahma Jigyasa. And then this is the other thing we looked at. The Bhagavad Gita contains 5 main topics. The whole 700 verses of Gita basically covers 5 topics, and those are: number 1, Ishvara, who is God. Number 2, Jiva, us. We are Jiva, living entities. Us means every living entity. Cats and dogs and ants and mosquitoes, all are Jivas. So number 1, Ishvara. Number 2, Jiva. Number 3, Prakriti. Prakriti means the material world. The world that we can see, the world of rocks and stones and mountains and trees and everything. That's a material world, Prakriti. And then number 4, Kala, the time factor. Time. We all are familiar with time, right? But we don't know what it is. Very mysterious. So that's number 4 topic that Bhagavad Gita covers. And finally, karma, the dreaded word, at least for me. Karma is a very scary word. Every action, every second, what we think, what we speak, what we do, manasa vacha karmana, has its consequence, good or bad, and we have the choice to decide what do we want. So that is karma. And then we went on to, this is last time slide, I'm just quickly showing. Then we went on to see Ishvara. Ishvara, God. What does God mean? God means different things to different people. You know, in today, especially G-O-D, it's a 3-letter word. It's been so used and abused and misused. It means different things to different people. Some people don't even want to hear about God. and some people have their own conception of God. But what the Shastras, the scriptures, what do they tell us about God? That's what we are looking at. And then we looked at an example of sun to understand God. Sun has three aspects. One is the sunlight. We all know the sunlight, we can see the sunlight. That aspect of sunlight is equal to Brahman, which is the energy. The energy which pervades the whole universe, Brahman, is that like that sunlight. It's an example. Because these are very deep concept and it is not easy to understand it, so we have to have some example by which we can understand. So the energy which is all over the universe, that is a part of God. That's a part of Krishna. And that's like the sunlight. Some people can only see the sunlight. They're not wrong, they're also right. And then the next higher aspect is Paramatma. Every living entity in their heart has God. In our heart, there are two. One is Atma and one is Paramatma. They always go together from every life to life. So Paramatma is the second higher aspect of God. And finally, God has a personal form. A 16-year-old flute player, Krishna, that is his form. So God has a personal form which is not accessible to everybody. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord says, after many, many millions of lifetime, the Atma, the Jivatma, is able to understand me as my personal form, Krishna. It is not for everybody. And that is the highest understanding of God. वो सबके लिए नहीं है. Only the very lucky people. So you people are lucky. You know that that is the highest form of God. And that is again compared with sun, sunlight, Brahman. The globe sun is what? Paramatma. The next higher. And the sun god, there is a deity which rules over the sun planet. There's a sun deity. Vivaswan is his name. So that is the Krishna. So it is an example to understand the three aspects of Ishvara. We'll come to it later on. This is just a trailer. Then we looked at, so that is out of the 5 topic of Gita, Ishvara, we just spoke about. The second is Prakriti, the material world. So Lord says, Maya Dhikshena Prakriti Suyate Sacharachara, which means that I control the Prakriti. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, I am the supervisor of the material world, Prakriti. And we stopped at that in the last session. So today we are in the 4th session, so I have this slide for you, and all right, so we did the pranati. All right, this is the 5 topics of Bhagavad Gita: Ishvara, Jiva, Prakriti, Karma, Kala. Out of these 5 topics, 4 are eternal. God is eternal. Ishvara is eternal. Always been, is always, and will always be eternal. We are also eternal. Guess what? We are eternal. That is a fundamental message of Gita. We don't take birth, we don't die as souls. Our essential, our fundamental identity is that we are spirit souls. The body is temporary. You get a body for 50 years, 100 years, that's temporary. That is not your identity. Before this birth, you had some other body. In fact, the Shastras say 84 lakh species of life. Every soul travels through 84 lakh species of life, which means all of us have been cats and dogs and donkeys and mosquitoes and flies and cockroaches. We have gone through all these species of life, and after 84 lakh species, you get one human life. Imagine how precious, how difficult is that human life. Once you lose this opportunity, you are back into the train going through 84 lakh species till you get the next chance for human life. Human life is very precious. So we are soul. We are soul. We are traveling in those bodies permanently, almost, till you get enlightened. So living entity is eternal. Prakriti, the material world, is eternal. Right? Now this, if you had paid attention last time, I said Prakriti is not permanent. I said something like that, right? Remember? Now, is that contradictory? I'm saying Prakriti is eternal. Prakriti is changing, but it's eternal. For example, the clouds in the sky, sometimes the clouds come and sometimes go. So, it's changing, but it's eternal. You understand the difference? Prakriti is eternal. Time is eternal. One thing is not eternal, that is our karma, action. Karma is not eternal. As I said, every moment you have the choice to change your karma. In this life, what we are experiencing is our past life karma. We cannot change that. Actually, we can. Once you are in devotion, in your, you are doing bhakti, your past life karma also changes. But by default, we are experiencing the reactions of our past life karma. Whatever we are doing now, we will experience later on. But we have a choice. God has given every Atma with the choice, independent choice. So it's 50-50. 50% is destiny. 50% you have the choice to change your destiny. So that is karma. And then moving on, again, Lord says, Mayadhyakshena Prakriti Suyate Sacharacharam. This material nature is working under my direction. In verse number 7.5, Lord says, Apareyam itastvanyam prakritim vidhi me param. That means this material nature is my inferior prakriti. But beyond this, another superior prakriti, Jiva Bhutam, the living entities. Now, first Lord says Prakriti is under my control. Then he says, within Prakriti there are two types of Prakriti. Based on the consciousness. We are a part of Prakriti. All the living entities are a part of Prakriti, but we are superior Prakriti. And the other Panchamahabhut, the earth, water, air, ether, the things made of that, the rocks and stones and mountains and trees trees have consciousness, though that is the inferior Prakriti. So we are the superior Prakriti. Why? Because we have the consciousness. So Jivatma is the superior Prakriti, and then you have the inferior Prakriti. So that's what Lord says in 7.5. And it is also said called Apara Prakriti and Para Prakriti. We'll go into that as we go into the Gita. Para always means beyond. Remember the word Para Brahma. When you are Para means beyond, superior. To Para is superior and Apara is the inferior Prakriti. Prakriti is always under the control of the Supreme Lord, whether inferior or superior. They're controlled by the Lord. Now, living entities, us, we are the living entities. When I say living entities, it includes every living entity, including the bacteria, the virus, the ants, and the cockroaches, and everything. Why I say cockroach? We were having a discussion before this one. Someone asked if is it a sin to kill cockroach. Yes, it's a sin to kill cockroach because they are also living entities. They have Atma and Paramatma also. So living entities are part and parcels of Lord Krishna. Prabhupada uses this word several times in his books, parts and parcels of Lord Krishna. We are parts and parcels of Lord Krishna. What does that mean? Now I've shown a picture of an ocean and a drop. If you take a drop from the ocean, it has exactly same qualities as the ocean. It will be salty. It'll have, if you examine under a microscope or whatever, it will have all the qualities of the ocean, the drop. What's the difference? The ocean is vast and the drop is tiny. Similarly, we are same as Krishna in one way, like a drop is same as ocean, but we are also different in quantity. Krishna is infinite, infinite. We are finite. We are small drops. But qualitatively, we are same as God. Another example is given as a fire and a spark of fire. Qualitatively, they are same. Our present condition, we are materially contaminated. What does that mean? Who was there last time can try to answer that. I said we are materially contaminated. What does that mean? Sorry?
You're bounded by the materialistic things.
Yes, that's a good reply. Yeah, actually, the material world. Last session we discussed it. The material world has three gunas. Guna. See, many terms in Sanskrit does not have an equivalent English word. Gun. We say gun in Hindi or Sanskrit. Gun. Gun is a quality. The material world has three qualities: quality of goodness, quality of passion, and quality of ignorance. Sattva, Raj, Tamas. Rajas, Tamas. Every living entity is affected by those gunas in the material world. So we, being in the material world, we are affected by those gunas. Nobody is free from it. Some people have a lot of passion in them. That's a rajas. Some people have a lot of tamas, ignorance. The people with tamas, they tend to sleep a lot and those kind of things. We have a false ego. False ego means we identify with our body. 99.999% of the people of the world identify with the body because that's the only thing we know. I am born into this family. This is my name. I'm a girl. I'm a boy. This is my father. This is my mother. I'm an Indian. I'm an American. Every one of these identities is related to the body. And they are gone when you're gone, when you get a new identity. So we have, and that identity is called false ego. Then, and we identify with, so that's our present condition. Now I've tried to make this this picture on PowerPoint, trying to explain our condition. So Krishna is that bright light. We are also like that. That's our soul. We are qualitatively same as Krishna, as God, but we are covered by three layers. We have a material mind. We have a material intelligence, and we have a material ego. And we are in the material world with the three gunas. So these layers of covering prevent us from being connected to God. When all these layers disappear, then we are with God. We are in connection with God, and that is yoga. Yoga means connection. Yoga means yoke. You connect with God. But right now, there are different layers coming in between us and God. Okay. Now, what I said, we are the same and different as Lord. Ishvara versus Jiva. Let's look at the differences and similarities. Both Ishvara and Jiva are eternal forever. Ishvara, everything emanates from him. Jiva is a part and parcel of Ishvara. So that's a difference. And on this side is a verse that tells of that, 10.8, and those are the chapter and verse. Ishvara is the supreme controller. The word Ishvara in Sanskrit means controller. We are small Ishvara. All of us are small Ishvaras. Why? Because we have a little bit of control in our lives. We didn't have control on where we were going to be born. We didn't have, we were just born into some family. We didn't have control over our parents. We were just born into that house. We didn't have control over our looks, what looks we get, and all those are not beyond our control. But we have a little bit of control over life. We can control when we want to get up. We can control where we want to go. We can control what we want to eat. A little bit of control is there. Why? Because we are part and parcel of Krishna, who is the supreme controller. We got some of his qualities. He is the Param Ishvara, Parameshwara. We are little Ishvara. So he is a supreme controller, we are minute controller. Krishna, we are conscious of our body, right? If my hand is hurting, I know it's hurting. But you won't know, because you are not conscious of my body. If your something is hurting, I won't know. We are conscious of our own bodies. Krishna is conscious of every single living entity's body. Why? Because he's inside every being. So Krishna is conscious of all bodies. We are conscious just of our own body. Krishna is indestructible and unborn. And we are also indestructible and unborn as soul. Body is destructible. Body is born again and again. Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi. The four problems of every living entity. We are born and we die as bodies, but as soul we are never born. So we are similar to Krishna. It's explained in the second chapter and verse 21, so that's the verse next to it. Krishna has the same transcendental body. His body never changes. At the time of Mahabharata war, Krishna was like over 100 years. I don't remember exactly how many. He was over 100 years, but his body always looks charming like a 16-year-old. He had grandkids and great-grandkids, but he always looks the same because he has a transcendental body, not made of Panchamahabhut, earth, water, and all that. We have a decaying body. We take up different types of decaying body. A body is affected by the material world. In fourth chapter, Lord says, when Arjuna asked that question, Krishna says, this Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna, you're not the first person to hear this. I have already spoken the Bhagavad Gita millions of years ago to sun god Vivaswan. So Arjuna is wondering, sun is always been there, but Krishna, you are my contemporary. We are like almost same age. How can you say that you told it to that time? Arjuna was not aware of Krishna's position. So he said, how can you say that millions of years ago you told this Gita to sun god? Because you and I are, both same age. So Krishna says, I have been here many times, and you have also been here many times. You don't remember any of your birth, but I remember. So Krishna remembers all his past, all our past. Krishna remembers everybody's past, present, and future. And of course, he remembers himself also. Krishna is not affected by the work because he is transcendentally situated. He's beyond the material world. And I gave the example last time of a traffic signal. If you're driving on the road on a car or a scooter and the lights turns red, you have to stop. But somebody up in the sky, the pilot flying an airplane, he doesn't have to obey the traffic rules. So similarly, Krishna is not a part of the material world. He comes to the material world to help us, but he's not a part of this. And an example is given of, for example, a prime minister goes to visit a jail. The prime minister goes to visit a jail, and physically the prime minister is in the jail, and all the convicts, the Kedi, they are also in the jail. So an outsider would think the prime minister is in the jail and these people are in the jail. Are they same? No. The prime minister is free to walk in and walk out of the jail, but the convicts, the prisoners, are bound. Similarly, Krishna comes and goes at his free will. He is not bound. We cannot do that. We are bound. We have to suffer or enjoy for our actions. We are forced to take birth again and again. We don't have any control over where we are going to be born. So we are bound by our work. We suffer or enjoy the result of our work. Krishna, when he was here, he was doing work like everybody else, but he is not affected by that. And the last point, Krishna is not materially affected. We are materially affected. We are controlled by the material modes. Now, how do we get out of this material mode of life where we are conditioned, everything we do, it's like we are always in shackles. Whatever we do, we have to, we are bound by that. How do we get out of that? And the primary message of Bhagavad Gita is bhakti, the devotional service. Bhakti, when you translate bhakti, is a Sanskrit word. When you translate that into English, it means loving devotional service. So bhakti removes the material contamination and purifies our consciousness. There are other methods also, right? We are not the only people who are seeking God. There are other religions. There are Christianity, there's Islam, there are Buddhists. I've tried Buddhist meditation. So what the Buddhists do is they meditate. They meditate and meditate and meditate. And so that is a very difficult path. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, it is not for this yoga, meditation. So the easiest and the quickest and the most powerful path is bhakti. It removes the material contamination, purifies our consciousness. And then we realize that Krishna is the only creator. Krishna is the only enjoyer. And Krishna is the only proprietor of everything. When you people, if you're going to do Bhakti Shastri, there's a course, Bhakti Shastri. There is a scripture that you have to study. It's called Ishopanishad. It's one of the Upanishad, Ishopanishad. very small Upanishad, but very powerful. So in that Ishopanishad, the verse goes like this: Isha Vasyamidam Sarvam Yat Kincha Jagatyam Jagat, meaning every atom of this universe is pervaded by Ishvara, Isha Vasyam. And therefore, the God is the proprietor, God is the owner of everything. It's a very deep statement, but as it's people work and make money and make buildings, houses. But what happens when we leave? You leave everything behind, right? Why do we work? We work to have a big bank account, to get a house and car and this and that and this and that. But what happens when we leave? It goes back to Krishna because it was his. Somebody else will use it after you. So Krishna, God is the only owner of everything. So what is the difference in consciousness of a materially contaminated consciousness? Our consciousness right now is materially contaminated, and Prabhupada uses the word conditioned because it conditioned soul. We are conditioned soul. We have been conditioned. Materially contaminated consciousness, we think, I am this body. But in a pure consciousness, we realize I am eternal soul. In the materially contaminated consciousness, we think I'm the enjoyer. And I said this in one of the sessions. What do we all crave for? Every living entity in the world, ant, elephant, any living entity, what do they seek? They seek happiness. No living entity in this entire cosmos will accept unhappiness. Everybody wants to be happy, joy. Everybody. You put sugar, the ant will run towards. There's a story. Once I don't know from where this is. Once Lord Krishna was having his food with Mata Rukmini, his wife. So Krishna laughs while eating. He just laughs. So Mother Rukmini asking, "Why, my Lord? Why are you laughing?" So he said, "Nothing, nothing." So, but Mother Rukmini again persists. "No, tell me why you're laughing." So he says, "Can you see that ant there?" So there was a little ant, and then ant was going towards a little sugar piece. So Lord Krishna says, "I was looking at that and I was laughing." So Mother Rukmini said, "So what's there to laugh at it? It's just an ant going to sugar. Ants love sugar." So Lord Krishna says, that ant has been Indra for many, many lifetimes. Indra means the king of all the devas, Indradev, the king of heaven. There's no opulence and enjoyment that he has not experienced. Lord Indra had the most opulent and enjoyable life. Lot of anything, whatever he wanted, apsaras and this and that. He's been Indra for so many times. And now that cycle of birth and death, now he's in the ant body, and now he's going after sugar. Meaning that propensity to enjoy is still there. Whether you are in an ant body, whether you are in Indra's body, the king of heaven's body, the tendency to seek enjoyment is there. So Lord Krishna was laughing at that. So in the materially contaminated consciousness, we are always seeking enjoyment. How can I better myself? Why are we studying? Why are you going to college? Why are you working? So that we can enjoy life, right? We don't want to suffer. We want to enjoy. I'll get a good degree, I'll get a good job, then I'll do this, I'll get married, and I'll have a house, and ultimately I want to enjoy. I don't want to suffer. That's the bottom line of every, not only human beings, every every living entity. But guess what? One of the names of Lord Krishna is Rishikesha. Rishikesha means the master of senses. How do we enjoy? We enjoy with our sense organs, right? Eyes, nose. With eyes, we see beautiful things. With ears, we listen to beautiful music or whatever. With nose, we smell beautiful fragrances. With our mouth, of course, we all want to eat nice, tasty things. So with the sense organs, we enjoy. If the sense organs are not there, there's no enjoyment. A blind person cannot enjoy the beautiful sights. A deaf person cannot hear the music. And a person who cannot eat cannot enjoy the dishes. I had once a friend who was also in ISKCON. He is no more, but he got this ailment where he could not eat. So he had to be fed the nutrition through intravenously. He had to be fed. So he could not eat. So he was just fed like that, and he eventually passed away. So that person cannot enjoy all the food. So that is the tongue, one of the sense organs. So Krishna is Rishikesha because he is sitting in our heart as super soul enjoys. When I eat an ice cream, I think I'm enjoying. No, it's actually the God sitting inside who is enjoying through me. So Krishna is the only enjoyer. And the other thing is the materially contaminated consciousness, we think I'm the creator. Meaning, if I draw some beautiful picture, or I write something or do something, I feel I'm doing it. But in Bhagavad Gita, you will find that Krishna says, um, you are not really doing it. You know, you are being helped by different material things. We'll come to that in later on. It's a complex thing. So Lord Krishna is the only creator. We don't really create. The hand with which I'm painting, the hand moves because of the Krishna's power. If he takes off that power, I cannot do it. My father, he was an artist. He was a professional artist. He's no more. The last days of his life, he was paralyzed. He had a brain injury. He was paralyzed. And the same hand with which he used to make beautiful paintings, the hand was there. The hand was still there, but it's not moving. It was paralyzed. So what happened? The energy was coming from Krishna. The energy was not there. So it's not, the hand is there, but it's not moving. It's not working. In Mahabharata, there's an episode. After Krishna disappeared, Krishna completed his pastime and he disappeared from earth. The Pandavas were still there. They were living. Arjuna, Bhima, and all, they were there. So Arjuna goes to Dwaraka to bring all Krishna's wives safely, because when Krishna and Balramji, both of them disappeared, they went back to their spiritual world. So all these ladies of Dwaraka, they had no protector. So Arjuna, being a very close friend of Krishna, went to Dwaraka to bring the ladies back safely. So Arjuna was the greatest archer of that time. Nobody could beat Arjuna. He was a great archer. So he brings the ladies in his rath, in the chariot. On the way, some thieves, some local thieves attack the chariot. And Arjuna had his famous Gandhi bow. Arjuna had a bow which was called Gandhi, and it was gifted by Lord Shiva. Sorry, Lord Shiva or Agni Deva actually. Gandhi was, he had this, it was a celestial weapon, and nobody could defeat Arjuna with Gandiva. Arjuna had Gandiva in his hand when the thieves attacked. He had the bow and arrow, but he could not protect the ladies. The thieves took the ladies away. And Arjuna got a shock. I won the Mahabharata war. I defeated Bhishma. I defeated Dronacharya. I won literally single-handedly. Arjuna won the war, and here I am not even able to fight with some local thieves. What happened? I still have my Gandiva. I still have my bow and arrow. Everything. What happened? Why? Where did the energy go? Where did all my prowess go? Where it went back with Krishna. All the energy is given by Krishna for the time being to glorify his devotees. And when his pastime was done, he took the energy back. So we feel we are doing something, but the energy, the main power supply comes from there. So that is that's the meaning. And in the pure consciousness, we understand I am the servant of Krishna. That is our fundamental position. No matter what we are always subservient to Krishna. Whatever we do, the wealth, power, talent, everything, if Krishna decides in 1 second, it's not there. Like I said, my father was an artist. He used to make beautiful paintings. The hand was there, but now it's not moving. It's not working. Okay, now this is you remember, when I was in school, we had these long, I don't know what's it called, equations. Yeah. X plus Y plus blah 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 equals this, and when you do a whole lot of steps, at the end you get what is X or what is Y and all that. Imagine at the top you make a small mistake. Instead of 3 or 2 or whatever, you make a small mistake in the top, right, the first step, and then later on you do all the steps correctly. Will you get the right answer? No, because you made a mistake at the top. Our mistake, our fundamental mistake we make is that we think we are the body. Prabhupada has said this many times. The fundamental mistake, out of that mistake, all other mistakes happen. When we identify with our body, then all the other things happen. But if you identify that you are the soul, your eternal spirit soul, then right at the beginning, you got it right. Then everything else falls in place. If you identify you are the body, then that's a fundamental mistake. Now, Prabhupada, in the introduction to Bhagavad Gita, he gives some examples. He gives the example of Krishna being the tree, and we are like the leaves of the tree. It's an example. If you want to nourish the leaf, are you going to water the leaf? No. You water the root of the tree. And the whole tree gets nourished. All the leaves get nourished. Similarly, Bhagavad Gita teaches us, you please Krishna, you please the God. When you please him, you automatically get nourished. There is a beautiful incident from Mahabharata again. Maybe some of you know about this. Mata Draupadi had a Akshay Patra, a bowl, which was given to her. It was gifted to her. It was a magical bowl. So what happens is that these Pandavas were in the forest, Vanavas. And in forest, you know how it is difficult to get food. You have to search for food, fruits and this and that. So. And Bhima was a voracious eater. Bhima himself could eat like tons of food. So it was a big challenge for Mother Draupadi to fix the meal. So she got this bowl as a gift, and in that you can keep, the food just keeps magically appearing in the bowl till the time Draupadi eats it. Once Draupadi has her food, then the food stops. So, as a dutiful wife, she would first feed all the husbands and Mother Kunti, and then last she would eat last. Because once she eats, it's done for the day. So, so one particular day, everybody had their food, and then Mother Draupadi also ate, and the food was done for the day. But it turns out that Duryodhan, being very envious of the Pandavas, always was looking for some ways to trouble them. So it turns out that Durvasa Muni, there was a sage called Durvasa who was very well known for his temper. Durvasa Muni, if he gets angry very fast. And when he gets angry, man, he really curses people. So people are very afraid of his anger. So once Durvasa Muni used to travel with a lot of his disciples, like tens and thousands of disciples. He doesn't go alone. He had a big following. So Duryodhan came to know that Durvasa Muni, along with his big entourage, was coming, and he thought, okay, now let me try to, get back at these Pandavas. Let me send Durvasa Muni to Pandavas and let them get cursed because they can't offer him, all the food. So they'll get curses for free. So with that intention, Duryodhan tells Durvasa Muni, you came to me, thank you so much. Now my dear cousin brothers are in the forest, please go and give them darshan. So Durvasa Muni goes with his big battalion of disciples. And when he shows up, Draupadi, and she had already eaten her food. Now the bowl is empty. She panics. She panics like anything. What am I going to do now? And this is like terrible. Like already we are in this terrible situation in the forest. Now Durvasa Muni's curse is like going to come. So whenever Mother Draupadi was in distress, she would immediately think of Lord Krishna. She thought of Lord Krishna. Immediately Krishna appeared. Okay. So Krishna said, why, what happened? Why are you looking so distressed? So Draupadi explains the situation, and he said, oh, are you sure the bowl is empty? Draupadi says, yes, I washed it. I had food and I washed the bowl. It's empty. Now there's no more food. How can I feed all these people? So the Durvasa Muni had gone to take bath. So they take bath and then they eat food. So Krishna said, show me the bowl, let me look at it. So he looks at the bowl and he said, there's a little grain of rice at the bottom. You didn't wash it properly, that grain is there. And he takes the grain and he puts it in his mouth. The moment he puts it, Durvasa Muni, who was taking bath with all his disciples, suddenly he is burping. His stomach became so full of food. And all the people, everybody was full till here, no more, and so then Durvasa Muni says, oh, I can't eat even one grain now, I'm so full. So the point is, when Krishna, being the Supreme Lord, when Krishna is satisfied, the entire universe is satisfied. So it is watering the root of the tree. When we water the root of the tree, all the full tree gets satisfied. If the leaf says, if that single leaf says, no, I want to be watered, I don't want the water to go into the root, what happens? The leaf will not get nourishment because you can't nourish the leaf by watering the leaf. Now there's a picture of a machine here and there's a screw there. We are the part of the machine of, we all, each of us are like that screw in the machine. We have to cooperate. We are the cooperator. We are not the enjoyer. We are not the creator. We are the cooperator. So if the screw says, I'm going to have an independent existence, I don't want to be a part of this machine, what happens? The screw is useless then. If the screw doesn't cooperate with the machine, it's useless if it's outside. If it's a part of the machine, it's useful. Similarly, if we think of ourselves as independent, I'll do my thing, I've got nothing to do with the rest of the people or with God, nothing, then it's suicidal. It's a useless endeavor. The next slide is from Brahma Samhita. Those who come to the temple, we recite Brahma Samhita every day. ईश्वर परम कृष्ण सच्चिदानंद विग्रह अनादिरादिर गोविंद सर्व कारण कारणम. Govinda Krishna is the cause of all causes. He is the primal cause and he is the very form of eternity, knowledge and bliss. Sat Chit Ananda Vigraha. Lord Krishna is called by Brahmaji. In Brahma Samhita is a scripture that was written by Brahmaji. In that he glorifies Lord Krishna and calls him Satchidananda Vigraha, which means Krishna, as I said, there are three aspects of God. One is the Brahman, the energy aspect. Energy is impersonal. That is the Sat aspect, eternity. Those who meditate on the Brahman, the yogi, not the yogis, the jnanis, they only reach the Sat part. The yogis, when they do yoga and meditate, they reach the Paramatma aspect, which is Sat and Chit. Chit means knowledge. And the devotees who worship Bhagavan, Bhagavan is the personal form of Krishna. The devotees get Sat, Chit, Ananda. Ananda part is missing for everybody else. Only the devotees, the bhaktas, they have access to the Ananda part. Is that clear? I'm going a bit fast. There's a lot to cover, but we will do this again once we are in those particular verses. Okay. Bhagavad Gita is the essence of Vedic knowledge, and Vedic knowledge is infallible. In India, we often say, "ये वेद वाक्य है, इसने जो बोला ये वेद वाक्य है." Means the Vedas are infallible. It cannot be wrong. Why? Because it is not written by a human being. It is a divine sound which is being captured by the sages. So it's a divine knowledge. So it's infallible means it cannot go wrong. So the Vedic knowledge comes from the Supreme Lord Krishna, and the knowledge is passed down in disciplic succession. So Vedic knowledge is called apurusheya, meaning it is not coming out of a person, it is a divine knowledge. One example of Vedic knowledge is that in Vedas, in the scriptures, it says that if you happen to touch the stool of an animal, you become impure. Right? You have to take bath. If you're going to do puja and you happen to step on a poo, animal stool, you become impure. You have to again take bath. Cow dung is the stool of cow. But it is most pure. In fact, when we do yagya in the temple, downstairs they have a yagya room. They do yagya every single day. They smear the yagya shala with cow dung. Cow dung is most pure. So how is it? In Vedas, on one side they say animal stool is impure, and the other side they say cow dung is most pure. But that's what it is. Today scientific knowledge says that cow dung has got a lot of medicinal properties, antiseptic properties. Science says that. So, because it's written in Vedas, we accept it. We don't doubt it. It is in Veda, it's true. No questions. That's infallible. Vedic knowledge versus human knowledge. What's the difference? The Vedic knowledge was given from the Supreme Lord Krishna into the heart of Lord Brahma. And from Brahmaji, it goes down in disciplic succession. Human knowledge has got 4 problems. Any knowledge coming from the human being has got 4 problems. What are they? Number 1, human beings tend to make mistakes. An example given is about Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi, when he was a great person, of course, Mahatma Gandhi, but he also made mistakes. He was assassinated, he was shot. But before that, many people, including Srila Prabhupada, had written to Mahatma Gandhi, do not go on that particular day. Many people had told him, don't go there, but he did not listen and he went and he got shot. So Mahatma Gandhi also made mistakes. Human beings do make mistakes. But Vedic knowledge, as I said, is infallible. Number 2 defect. What is that? We become illusioned. And what is the illusion? We think we are the body, we are not the soul. That's the number 1 illusion. And number 3, we have imperfect senses. Our sense organs are not perfect. The eagle, the hawk, they can see much more better than us. They can fly thousands of miles above and they can see a little animal and they swoop it. So our senses are not good. We can't hear what the dogs can hear. Dogs can hear frequencies much lower than what we can hear. So our ears are not good. Our senses are imperfect. And we look at the world with the imperfect senses. And people say, those who don't believe in God, they say, I don't believe in God because I can't see God. Show me God and I believe. You can't see the material world clearly. How can you see God? So our senses are imperfect. And the last problem is that we have a tendency to cheat others. Human beings, a fool can pretend to be wise. That's cheating. So these are the defects. And what else? Yeah, and one example is in a dark room. Suppose, imagine there's pitch dark, complete darkness. Can you see your hand in front of you? You cannot see. You need light. You need something else to see your own self. You are depending on something external to see the world. So your senses are imperfect. And finally, we are almost time up. I can see the next batch coming in. So finally, we living entities, we are Sanatana. I said we are eternal. Eternal in Sanskrit, we say Sanatan. We are eternal. We living entities are eternal. God is eternal. Lord Krishna is Sanatana, eternal. He lives in his abode, his dham, which is Sanatana. It is Sanatana dham, eternal abode. It doesn't dissolve when the pralay comes, the different yugas, and there is a big pralay and everything goes back. But the Sanatana spiritual sky is eternal. Our material world is temporary. You all agree with that, right? The material world is temporary. I was in Dubai for some time, and it's a joke, how in Dubai they make buildings very fast. You go to office in the morning, on the road you don't see the building. When you come back, there's a building up. They make it so fast. And they break it also so fast. You go to office, the building is there, you come back, it's not there. It goes away. So material world is very, very temporary. So Lord is Sanatan, we are Sanatan, the Dham is Sanatan, and um, Bhagavad Gita teaches us Sanatana Dharma. What is Sanatana Dharma? Means duty. The Sanatana Dharma is the eternal duty of us. We living entities have an eternal duty which is to serve the Lord. Why? Because we are servants. Okay? So Bhagavad Gita teaches us our Sanatana Dharma. Alright? With that, I will end this. And any questions?